starting the stream. No, sorry, I'm having a big problem resizing windows today. They keep going to full screen instead of getting smaller. I'm real tired. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell that. It's been a long week. We had a very fun week. I enjoyed it a lot, but fun stress still counts as stress, as I discovered in graduate school. What were we doing? We did the SQL Summer Camp this week, which was super duper fun. Really enjoyed it. Lots of great discussion. I'm going to try and spend a big chunk of time on the forums today answering people's questions. And I was sort of like monitoring yesterday, but I didn't get as much time as I wanted to chit chat with folks because there's just, there's so much going on. We got lots of fun surprises in store for you guys. I am looking forward to being able to share all of them. We got some like technical updates that I think will be really nice and everyone will get a lot of benefit from. But there's a lot of stuff going on. And also, if you didn't know, next week is a holiday in the United States. It is the 4th of July, which is United States Independence Day, and that is on Thursday. So pretty much everyone's going to be, everyone in the United States is going to be unavailable on Thursday and Friday, including me. So there won't be any stream next Friday. I might pre-record something to go up in this time slot. Maybe. We'll see. I've got a lot on my docket right now. All right. Let's talk about coding. So we've been working on, let me head over to my kernels, and there's going to be a bunch of SQL kernels right now because we've been working on those. And I never made this public. Let's make that public so other people can see it. Access, that's what it's called. Is that not available if you're zoomed too far in? That seems like a bug. All right. Okay, that is public now. Excellent, 10 out of 10. We have been working on a series of projects. Santhush says hi from Bangalore. Hi from Seattle. I don't know much about Bangalore, but I know that it is like the Silicon Valley of India, so that seems like a very reasonable place for someone who would be interested in live coding to be from. Coffee. Okay. We have been working on a number of kernels, and I want to make sure that this is the most recent one that I actually wanted. Okay, this is just the keyword extractor, so let's see if I can find the one with the clustering. I think that's this one. So we've been working on a number of kernels, and we have just sort of been futzing about. I believe we wrote more code last week, so let's see if I didn't actually commit it, because that's very possible, and it's just in the kernel. Hello, Naman. We are working on, sorry, this is like the most circuitous interest ever, a way to summarize Kaggle forum posts. So if you have been on Kaggle, we have a number of forums. Here under the discussion tab, we have the Kaggle forum, getting started, product feedback, questions and answers, data sets, and learn. And every day I read all of the forum posts in all of these forums. Maybe not the last couple days because I've been really busy, but the number of forum posts has been increasing very, very, very quickly. So if we look at the meta Kaggle dataset, which is the dataset of Kaggle's data, basically. So we don't include, obviously, private user data. But if you wanted to know anything about Kaggle, please use this data set that we've already cleaned and prepared for you instead of scraping. There's no need to scrape. Most of the data should be available. And if we look at the number of forum messages over time, this is, I imagine, the 214 through 422. Okay, that wouldn't be. That must be a bunch of competition forums that caused that spike. What was I saying? No, I made it big. I just want my window to be small and in the place where I want it. And also I want all of the messages. Hello, everybody who's saying hello. So I joined Kaggle around-ish, I think summer of 2017 sounds about right. So I would have been in here-ish point when I started, and now we're up here, and as you can see, the rate of growth is very, very fast, and I can't keep reading all of the forum posts myself. I mean, I'd love to, but it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger part of my day every single day. And it would be really helpful for me if I still knew what people were saying, but in a way that's faster for me to process and for me to pass on to the team members whom it's relevant to. So what we're doing is we're building a project to take the posts from these forums, so we can actually see the texts from some of these forum posts here. So this person's like, here's some papers that analyze Eurovision voting patterns. You might find some of them helpful, some citations to those papers. And if I could just have a way of saying, hey, a lot of people are talking about Eurovision right now, that would be much more helpful for me going forward. So that's the basic idea of the project that we are working on. And so far, yes, excellent. This is the code that we wrote last week. I just didn't commit it. So far, we've been doing a couple of things. We've been working with a bunch of pieces separately. So Yake is a keyword extraction algorithm. And if I search for yet another keyword extractor, that's what Yake stands for. And this is the algorithm that we've been using as sort of data cleaning and also a little bit of dimensionality reduction. So what this does is it takes, where is their nice little demo page? Demo, there we go. It takes a big document and it selects out the most important keywords, and it does this in an unsupervised way, so you don't need to do training ahead of time, which is really helpful because I don't want to be having to hand tag things and deal with training myself. So let's see, I think there are some example documents here. Yeah, so this one I believe actually is about Kaggle, so we can set the n-gram size to 3, and that will look at sort of moving chunks of 3 words each, and that gives us documents like Goldblum, Anthony Goldblum's the CEO, and Ben Hamner, CTO, machine learning platform, Google, Kaggle, Google. It's about the Kaggle being acquired by Google. So that's been working pretty well. We've had pretty good results with that. We also did a little bit of tokenizations. We made all the words lowercase, and we went through each post once we got the keywords, and we took all those keywords and sort of treated them as a single sentence. And we put that as input to the Brown clustering algorithm. So Brown clusters are a type of, again, unsupervised clustering algorithm that assign words to clusters. So here we have the example, words that are similar to Kaggle, and this measurement is mutual information, which you might know of if you've done much information theory or if you were in NLP in like the aughties and 90s. Thiago says, Yake works for multiple languages. It should. By default, it assumes that the text is in English, but I believe that that is a parameter that you can change. So it should be multilingual, which is also something that we want because sometimes people post in Kaggle in languages other than English. And I still want to know what y'all are saying. All right. So here are the words and here are the mutual information. And last week we figured out how to actually... we've tried to figure out how to actually get, let's get rid of this, how to actually get the clusters out. And what we found is that we had a sort of one big cluster was being put out as the object of this particular algorithm that we're using. And we found this code on GitHub, and it is licensed under the MIT license. So here is the link. Where is the information? So the repo is Yang Yuan Brown clustering, and here is the additional information about that if you're interested. And it assigns words to clusters, again, in an unsupervised way. And it is pretty unsupervised, so it's not even like, let's say, k-means, where you need to specify the number of clusters you think you're going to have going in. It does it completely unsupervised, which is really nice. The downside is it is a little bit slower and it doesn't scale super duper well, which is part of the reason why doing the keyword extraction first helps, because that if you just extract the keywords, you have fewer total words. So Ala says, even non-English letters, such as the Swedish letters, A with a little circle, A with an umlaut, and O with an umlaut. I believe you may need to update the language models for Swedish. If you are using Python 3 and Kaggle only supports Python 3, you shouldn't have a problem with Unicode characters, in theory. Colin says, this is the third class. We've been on this project for a while, but I expect people to sort of drop in and out, so I try to do a little bit of review at the beginning. It might be the fourth one. We've been on this project for a little bit. All right, so we have one, we'll scroll down a bit so it'll be a little bit clearer. So the data object that we got out was an array with all of the clustered text, and the way that, so it was given to us as a single object with no way to tell the difference between the clusters. But when we looked at it, we saw that they were sort of alphabetically sorted, and every so often the alphabetization would reset. And our assumption, my assumption, is that every time that resets, that should be the cluster boundary. So last week we wrote like 8 lines of code, and here they are. And this is to look through this cluster that we get out and to break it into its individual clusters as a list, so that each cluster is, I think it's nested lists. So each cluster is a list inside a list of all of the words in the cluster. So go through and do that, and that was pretty fast. And if we look at the first 4 clusters, we can see that we have data good, the, href and actually let's look at the couple more, to of test time file. And if we look at, let's say, cluster 50, that's just the word score. Some of them do get longer. I'm wondering if I have messed up. I don't know, as this is right. Oh, Sunil says, that's not it. That should help. Sorry, that should help with the echo. Colin says, I've been following along and think I missed a class because I can't follow this. Have all the classes been at this time? Yeah, so they're on Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific, which I think is 9:30 p.m. IST and 4 p.m. GMT. And they are every week, except probably next week, because I'm going to be out of office, and I need it. My husband and I are going up to the mountains where they don't have Wi-Fi, and I'm really looking forward to it. Okay. I think we've messed up. So just looking at these, assuming that these are added in order, we should have, it looks like the boundaries are shifted by 1. So it looks like congrats gold and your should be in the same cluster. Congrats I on should be in the same cluster. So it looks like the boundary for each of them has been shifted by 1. So I think what we need to do is actually scooch this over by 1, but I think we will run into issues because it's going to, well, let's see. I think we might get an error for the very first time we run through the loop. Nope, it worked fine. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now if you look at all these words, you can see that they are in ascending alphabetical order. These don't look like clusters. These look like words extracted from individual posts. All right, so my plan for what we were going to do today was take this working algorithm that works good and combine keyword extraction and the clustering into maybe a couple of scripts, and then set up the scripts in a script folder and add them to a kernel and have like a little pipeline set up. But I don't know as it is going to be helpful. Questions, can Yake extract non-English keywords? It could. You shouldn't need to change the algorithm, but someone was mentioning that there are, you do need to change the, let me see. I'm looking for the, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for, there we go. So you can see that there is a parameter here where you do need to pass in the language. And I don't know what language it's been trained on. It is open source, so you may need to retune it a little bit for your particular source language or mix of source languages. But yeah, it should work on non-English data as well. Sunil says chain train also for loop. Okay, I think that's that thing that we just changed, hopefully. And can I give any info on recent success on one-shot learning or zero-shot learning? No. Sorry, it's not something I've been paying a whole bunch of attention to. Maybe I should look into it. Most of the zero-shot learning that I am familiar with, my background's in natural language processing, so I'm much more familiar with language-based stuff than I am with, like, computer vision, has been on zero-shot learning for multilingual translation. So I have a lot of information about how to translate from, let's say, English to French. How does that help me translate from Telugu to Japanese? That sort of question. All right, let's play with the clustering parameters. So right now we have it at 3. We have it at 4. Let it set it to 3 because that's the n-gram length. And this one's going to take a minute. Let's set it to 3 because that's the n-gram length that the keyword extraction assumed. And I don't know if having those match is going to give us better results, but maybe it will. Ooh. Who knows? And we're just sort of in the trying stuff out. All right. Oh, so you can see I mentioned that we have things other than English, and I definitely saw some Chinese and some Korean. Oop, where was it? Yeah. So we've got some Chinese and we've got a little bit of Korean in here. So like I mentioned, we have languages other than English, a little bit more Korean here. One of these days I'm going to learn how to read Hangul. It's on my personal to-do list. All right, let's see how that changes our clusters. That still looks pretty good. Those are words I would expect to be associated with Kaggle. Questions about SQL. This isn't SQL, sorry. The summer SQL was a different event. This is just me working on projects. So yes, there were 3 days of SQL, and this is a different thing. I don't know as high, beautiful, the letter Y and function are the things that I most associate with the word deadline on Kaggle. I guess high score. And then submission, model, lot, test, train, people training. Okay, that seems much more reasonable. And we have more clusters. I actually wanted fewer clusters, so that was not super helpful. Let's try cutting them up again and see if that helps. And some of these are just stop words. So we haven't removed stop words specifically. What we have done is we've done keyword extraction, and in theory, you probably aren't going to extract stop words as keywords. Here's a question I haven't considered before. So, do I want to consider all posts on the forums? I sort of assumed that I did going in. But my thinking here is that we may have problems with this measurement because it's a measurement of mutual information, which means that words have to occur next to each other. Oh, sorry. I try not to make my gestures offensive. So words have to occur next to each other in a line. And if they don't occur in the same text, then they probably won't be, they probably won't ever be assigned to the same cluster because they're never going to have high mutual information. So I'm wondering if we want to remove very short texts, and that might give us better results here because that means that the texts that we do have are going to have, they're going to be longer, so there's going to be more words that occur together, so we're going to have more information to calculate the mutual information. Side benefit, the clustering itself isn't going to take as long. Excuse me. Sunil says, oh, the for loop is not considering the last element of the list. It is not. You are correct. I don't care that much. That sounds a little bit rude. Thank you for pointing that out, but that is just the last word in this big, how long is the list? 1,500 word list, so I'm not super worried about that. Let's try this again. Okay. So far we've just, our sample that we've been doing this with has been just some of the posts, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit, and I might even create a fork. Can you fork your own kernels? Oh, some people have forked it. Are any of these public? If people have been building on my work, nope, they're all private. Okay, that's fine. It looks like I can't fork my, oh, I can, there we go, fork kernel. So I'm going to create a new version here, and I'm going to call this clean, CLEANED up brown clustering. I'm going to tidy this up a bit. And then I am going to try changing the input data and see how that affects our results. Muzamil says, I recently did word clustering using word-to-vec representation after stop word removal, then clustered them using spectral clustering. Worked pretty good. Yeah, that's definitely the next step for me is going to be a second approach just to compare the two, and I am going to do some sort of vector training. I might actually use fast text because I believe you can update fast text vectors a little bit easier if I remember correctly. And then we were talking about spectral clustering and hierarchical DB-scan and UMAP were the three versions that we talked about, three clustering algorithms that we talked about once we have the vectors. And the big difference between those approaches and these approaches is that we never stop using words in this approach. We never turn the words into numbers, basically. They're just words throughout. And my idea about the benefit of this is that it should help us, be able to interpret our clusters better than once we do vectorization. I don't know that that's the case, but I think it might help. I don't know, man. I'm trying stuff out. I'm using the tried and true machine learning technique of guessing and testing. William says, have you done any coding of storytelling systems using deep learning techniques? I could use GPT-2 or natural language storytelling. I think we mentioned this a little bit earlier. If for stories you mean like fun fiction, neural networks are fine. I mean, Markov chains also perfectly fine, much cheaper to train. If you are looking for like news stories, I would not use a neural system. I would use templates. And pretty much anyone I know who is using some sort of machine learning system to generate news stories, especially around things like sports scores, those tend to be templates instead of the other thing, neural. So that's my 2 cents there. All right. So I am going to get rid of some of this. I don't need the clustering without the keywords because I tried that and the results are not as good as the keywords. I do need to, be bigger again. Okay, that's just the size it is now. I give up. So I do want to move my pip installs to the top, and I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit because if we're going to be working with this code quite a while, I tried some stuff. It worked okay, but at this point, I'm going to try to iterate a little bit more quickly. And that is going to be easier if my code is better. All right, so we can get rid of these cells. I'm just consolidating cells. I'm just sorting things so that they're in the order I would expect. This is the keyword extraction, so I do want that, but I'm actually going to put this into a function. I'm going to call this tab def keywords yake, and I am going to need as my input forum posts. Oh, nope, I want that out of there. So I'm going to take this out. Sorry, so what this code is doing is it is taking some of the forum posts, and I want to be able to modify which forum posts I'm looking at any given point pretty straightforwardly. Oh my God, why can't I use my mouse good? There we go. I'll just use the keyboard instead. So I'm going to put that up here, and we're going to have to deal with that in a bit. Just doing a little bit of refactoring. I should also make this, if you wanted to work on this code, if you wanted, I'm going to make it public and it'll be under, Apache 2.0, so you are welcome to play around with it. And then the thing that it's going to want is sample posts. There we go. Tokenizer. Okay. So we have to do... Okay, so we can get rid of these. Excuse me. So we can get rid of these and this tokenization because that was before we went into brown clustering the first time. So let's get rid of all of this. And then... let's call this def tokenizing after yake. And we are going to want from here, sentences is the input. Ooh, I forgot something. I do want to return sentences here. So I get output from my function. Right now we are, to respond to Nicholas, right now we are refactoring some code I wrote earlier, so it's a little bit easier to implement a little bit, iterate a little bit faster. And then we are going to want to return, I'll need this right now, go away. And then we're going to want to return sample data tokenized. So I'm just putting these things that I'm going to want to do quite a bit into some functions, so I don't have to copy and paste this code every time. And if there's a bug, I only have to fix it once. And then we are going to call this... No, I think this can live outside of a function. I think this is already, modular enough. And then I'm going to get rid of all of these little things where I try... Have I? Okay. Oh, I can't download the notebook. That's no good. I guess I'll refresh. Okay, it looks pretty much the same. I'm going to get rid of all of these little things where I am just trying stuff out, and then I'm going to call this def get clusters. Maybe, because again, I still don't know if this is actually getting the clusters. I'm just sort of assuming it is. And we are going to need clustering. Let's actually move this out here. And we're going to need mega cluster for this. And that's just the list that's all of the clusters. And we are assuming that when in our list of words we have alphabetical order starting over from the top, that is when a new cluster is actually happening. All right. Oh, right. And you're probably going to want some colons to define. No. Name clustering is not defined. Okay. And that's because we haven't imported those libraries yet. Okay, so this is a little bit better. Let's run from the top, and I'm just going to get the first 100 clusters. So we're going to need to install this Yake library. Right now, the output of the pipeline should just be word clusters. So instead of getting, and actually we can hide the input and the output here. So this means it won't show once I compile the notebook. And I'm also going to hide the output while I am working. So the output from this right now should be words assigned to clusters. What I do not have yet, I'm not actually running any of these functions. That's fine. I should get an error right around 12 as I'm running from the top. Okay, there it happened. So what I am expecting is a list of lists where each list are words, sentences, and then I want to return sample data tokenized. So I'm expecting, actually I think I have something that looks kind of like this, but hopefully where the words in the cluster are more informative. Montessori says, what's the advantage of using words, not number? Might that cause conflicts? So here, each word is assigned to a single cluster in theory. So it's a vocabulary-based approach. And these were super common in NLP maybe even when I started graduate school, so to the sort of like early 10s, they were still the thing that people did. And there's a lot of stuff around them that is nice and helpful. And the thing that's most helpful for me right now is that it should... Oh, and we want to return... I keep forgetting to return things for my functions. Hold up. Okay, yeah, I was looking at cluster list here. Is that I want it to return I don't know where I was going with that. At some point, I'm going to need to look to these clusters with my eyes. So it's not going to go into a whole NLP pipeline. It's going to go to me personally. I mean, there'll be a pipeline, but then the output is going to be a report that I read every day. And I want it to be very interpretable so that I can understand what's going on. And so a benefit of, well, I hope a benefit of using these lexicon-based methods instead of embedding-based methods is that I should have more interpretable output. We'll see. All right, and I'm actually going to put these in a cell right down here, and once I'm happy with this, I'll actually move these to a script kernel, and then I will import them as a little utility library to make my life easier. So with that, our pipeline should look a little bit better. So I should be able to get my sample posts. Get my sample posts, and then get keywords. From, I believe it was keywords yake, I called it, pass in my sample posts. There we go. And after that, I'm going to want to tokenize. So I'm going to call this keyword output, actually. Tokenized output. I'm going to use that what was it called? Tokenized after yake? Yeah, tokenized after yake using keyword output. And if I was an R, I'd be using pipes right now. But I can never remember the syntax in Python, and I think it's fairly convoluted. And from there, once they are tokenized, I am going to use that output to do my clustering here. And then once I have clustering, excuse me. Oh, pardon me. I'm going to get the mega cluster out of that. Oop. Nope. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. I think I'm allergic to something. So I'm going to get this big old cluster that we still need to break into a bunch of little clusters. And again, this code is, I would not call it done yet, but it should be a little bit less spaghetti at this point. Pardon me, because we are only getting one cluster out from our code that we're using, and that's just because it hasn't... Oh my god. The getting the individual clusters function hasn't been implemented in the library that we're using yet. So very reasonable clustering train. All right, so we've gotten that we can get rid of. We've gotten that we can get rid of. And then we can pass in mega cluster to get clusters maybe. All right, and so now our whole big, get clusters, maybe that's in here. Excellent. So now our whole big multi-cell process only takes a single cell, and we should be able to play around with it a little bit more easily. And this is going to take a while, but this should all work, hopefully. Famous last words. And this is the output from the clusters being trained. So this is... Okay, so this looks like the timestamp, and this looks like maybe the number of clusters, I guess. We never figured out what this 131303 thing was. All right, so that's happening. Looks good. Is our cell finished running? I think it is. So now we should be able to look at clusters, maybe, and look at, let's say, the first 11. So, I don't think these are the clusters. Is the thing that I am noticing here. So let's look at, let's compare something. So let's look at the length of mega clusters, because if these are the clusters, oh wow, sorry, each word should only occur once because we are clustering at the vocabulary level or the lexicon level. So let's get the length of the mega cluster. 588, okay. And now get the length of the set of the mega cluster. So we're gonna remove any words. I think this should remove words that are not identical. Okay, oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is the clusters. But it looks like these are just words that are used together. All right, and then the set is all in alphabetical order. Okay. How many clusters did we end up getting out of clusters, maybe? So I'm trying to figure out what this data actually is here. We got 34. Okay, so it does seem like clusters. And we had more than 34 posts. So if you remember, we had 100 posts, and we've taken 100 posts and put them into 35 clusters. Nicholas said the previous video had a top 10 list, which had more understandable similarities. Yeah, so these should be words from within a single cluster, where words in the cluster have higher mutual information than words outside of the clusters. Excuse me. So, and we can also get, let's see, I think we called it clustering, get similar, I think is it. And we could just give it a word like squeeze net, and we can see that no words have any mutual information with it. Tabular, so the most common words most commonly used with, so the words that are used, more likely to be used with tabular than they are in any other context are thanks, pneumonia, work, downloaded, your, and amazing job in Kaggle. Let's see what's really close to in. In, work, and amazing, Kaggle, sharing, kernel, great, competition, nice, commit. Nicholas says, would increasing the number of word sets from 100 to 1,000 change much? So this isn't actually the number of words that we're changing here. It is the number of forum posts. So we actually, to answer Panos' question, we did more or less build the pipeline. So this is the pipeline, basically. We made things more functional. We are doing keyword extraction and then Brown clustering, and the output of that is lexicon level clusters. So these are words that are used much more often with each other than they are, how many do we have? We had 30, so let's see what 20 through 30 look like. So these are words that are used more often with each other than they are on their own. Yeah. Yeah, let's try increasing. Let's actually try decreasing the size of the n-grams and also increasing the number of forum posts and see what that gets us. And then after that, let's just look at the first 20 clusters. Oh, and you'll notice that I can tell that it's playing because we got a little play symbol. Play symbol? This way? Play symbol up here. So the I think the tokenization is going really well. I don't know how good the brown clustering is going. So the output of the keyword extraction I was pretty happy with. The outputs of the clusters right now I'm not super happy with. And I think what we will do, not next week because I'm going to be out of town, but the week after, I think we're going to start looking at embeddings and sort of distance-based clustering methods instead of information-based clustering methods. Because I am not having a lot of joy here. So we have clusters such as data, href learning, good model, code, and to, competition of, Kaggle machine test time, file set, lot, a training, in train, dataset find problem, for HTTPS, deep Python, make with, is link. I'm not very happy with these clusters. And we can actually look at the keyword output, and I remember being much happier with them, but this is a slightly different test. So here we have can model gamma high kernel help, which I think is a perfectly reasonable keyword extraction. Ricardo says, I noticed there were some questions about Yake. I should say that Yake has not been trained at all in the sense that we didn't learn any model or applied a machine learning algorithm. It's unsupervised. I would call it a machine learning algorithm. I would call Yake itself a machine learning algorithm. Nicholas says, why are there single word clusters? So the way that brown clustering works is every word starts in its own cluster, and clusters are only merged if the cluster together has higher mutual information than each of the words individually. So basically, you only get words in the same cluster if they are more likely to be used together than they are on their own. And if a word is used in a lot of different places, it is likely to be in a cluster by itself, is the thing there. Ricardo says Yake is supported on statistics from tests, and yes, the language parameter can be changed to any other language. And indeed, we only do it to preload some list of stop words. Oh, that's helpful. I would say that it is a unique language aspect. That is the unique language aspect of the algorithm. Okay, that's good to know. So if you wanted to apply Yake to a different language, then the thing that you would want to add or have access to would be stop word lists in your language. And stop words are very common words like and, the, of, in English, or maybe in French like le, la, de la, du, sur. Generally things like articles and prepositions tend to be stop words. Or depending on the language, things like gender markings, or like I think in Chinese people tend to remove those sort of like category markers, like the ge in igaren. You can tell it's been a while since I've taken some Chinese. So helpful. Okay. So I'm pretty, share your valuable insights topic, share valuable insights. I think that's pretty good keyword extraction. I feel like I know what that particular forum post is about. This doesn't, unfortunately, reduce the total number of forum posts you would look at. Let's get rid of this. I'm not happy with these clusters. Not that I think that they're bad clusters, but that they're not super helpful for me. Yeah. The other problem with brown clusters that I think makes it not a super good pick for this particular... you're just showing off right now? No, I'm trying to be helpful. And I've used up all my languages now, except for American Sign Language, and that's very rusty. Listen, if you can't use your degree sometimes, like, why did you bother getting it? My degree, for those of you who don't know, I think I might have mentioned it. My degree's in linguistics, so knowing about different languages is something I spent time on. Yeah, so I'm going to change this name to Yay Cross-Brown Clustering Pipeline. Specific use case. It says, I'm kidding. No, but I do generally try to be useful, and I think I got coffee on myself, so that's how my day's going. Yeah, so we do have the whole pipeline set up, and by that I mean we've taken all of the tasks that we have to do, we've put them into a series of functions that we can then use to make our code much more compact and understandable. Going forward, I would move these functions into a... and I also like to, and this is just my personal preference, I like to read in data in the same cell where you read in your imports. Should be much easier to iterate and try things out. And I think I probably could get there with the brown clusters with a little bit more tuning, but I'm not willing to do a lot of tuning for this project, particularly because I want this to be something that's useful for other folks. And not everybody on the Kaggle team is like super comfortable just like working with machine learning, just like I would not be super comfortable like handling all of our security stuff. If someone was like, hey Rachel, now you're in charge of encryption, I wouldn't be able to handle that. And I don't want to be like, hey, you know, teammate, I know you don't know anything about hyperparameters, but now you have to tune them for this model that's very brittle and fragile and won't give you good results if they're wrong. And also I can't tell you which ones are good to begin with. I think that would be frustrating for my colleagues, so I am trying to avoid that. And also, I don't want to spend time tuning models every morning, the same model. That makes it less helpful. Because this is eventually a time-saving thing that I am building for myself. What does this do? Oh, that's kind of nice. So the K here goes to all of your kernels. Cool. Let me make this public. Oh, did I not actually commit it all the way? Let's see. Oh, no, I should have a committed version. It probably just needs a second to, refresh. Oh, there's an error somewhere. All right. So let's try committing it again and see if we get a little bit more of a helpful error message. Figure out what the problem is. Yeah, so I'm glad I tried brown clustering. I'm perfectly happy with the keyword extraction. I don't think brown clustering is the right choice for this particular project. Yeah. Vladimir, so I'm going to do Colin's first. Colin says, still a newbie in data science, but have been learning it. Would I benefit from this class? I mean, you're always free to join. I wouldn't say it's really a class. It's just sort of me working on projects with people hanging out with me. And my point is more to sort of show people what the working process is like and what I'm working on, and also to get help in real time because I often run into difficulties. Vladimir says, I suspect the right way to get clusters from the brown clusters is clusters equals clustering.train. So that does, there we go. So that does create the clusters to begin with. The problem is that the particular repo that we're using, they haven't actually implemented a way, once you've done the training, to get all the clusters. So this sounds like it was written as part of a course, so maybe for teaching the course. And the point is to show people how the code to get the clusters is written to begin with, if that makes sense. So unfortunately, there's no way already in the code to, okay, no errors that time. It must have just been because I canceled it. So now if we refresh the pipelines, oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I was like, why is this a script? I thought I had a notebook. I definitely had a notebook. There's the notebook. There we go. I should definitely have hidden that output, actually. I think I'm going to rerun it one more time, hiding that output, because that is too much text to look at with your eyes. Nope. Cancel. Hide output and then commit. So yeah, we do have a pipeline, which is nice. Going forward, we can use some of this for Yake, which is nice. Next week, or I guess the next time, because I'm probably not going to do anything next week because I'll be out, we will look at distance-based clustering, and I've got high hopes. We'll see if they are unfounded. Yeah, so I think that's about all that I'm going to do today. I've got so much stuff to do, and I need to drive somewhere tonight that I'm not super looking forward to. So just a lot on my plate right now. Yeah, thanks for joining me, everybody. The kernel is available, and it should, if you go and look at it right now, it's Yake plus brown clustering pipeline. You'll get this really long output, but when this commit finishes, you'll be able to see it without having to scroll a bunch. That is public, so if you wanted to play around with the brown clusters, you are perfectly welcome to. I invite you to. And next week, or 2 weeks from now, I guess, we're going to jump in and start by doing some embeddings. So taking words and turning them into numbers instead of keeping them as words the whole time. And we will also start to look at some distance-based clustering methods. And I think I mentioned I'm interested in UMAP, I'm interested in hierarchical DB-scan, and I'm interested in spectral clustering. And we might just try a couple of those and see which one works good. And that's what we've got in the future. All right, so I'm going to call it there. I hope everybody has a great day or evening or whatever it is where you are, and enjoy your weekend, and I will see everybody on Wednesday. We'll have the Kaggle reading group, and we will have a new paper, and my guess, so I'll open it up to a vote. My guess is that people are going to want to know about XLNet, which is a recent model that's outperforming BERT, which we've read about previously, but we'll see. I never know. You guys continue to surprise me in the best way. So I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. See you then. Bye.